Hey everybody, welcome to another segment of Tony's Show. And today I'm going to be a little bit here and there. Everyone's heard that Mr. Trump has got hit with COVID. I'm not sure whether to believe that or not. I have to say I have some doubts. But it's a good strategy either way, whether he has or not, because it has given him the empathy and the sympathy for the election. I think he manhandled Biden really well, just to show you, and Biden was falling asleep and so forth. There's all kinds of stuff. But anyway, I'm not here to talk politics. But I am here to talk about something that I hinted on the other night. The other night I was talking about how I saw an event happen, and it created a reaction in me. And that reaction, was basically a hostile reaction because I saw a young woman being assaulted by something that she shouldn't have been assaulted with, and it created a response to me. So that response created a hostile answer to the problem that was going on. So I was looking at something today, and I've talked about this in the past. It's called optogenetics. Now, optogenetics basically means that I can now turn on or turn off pathways to the brain, pathways to the DNA, pathways to the genetics by using light, usually a blue light. And our computers emit a blue light. This is why I suggest you wear a yellow lens or yellow-orange lens to protect your access to your eyes because you have no filter, and to shine a incandescent light on your screen. This will cause a complete filtering out of the blue beam. Now, when I watched this, it created a response in me. That's what it was designed to do. It was designed to create this response. They wanted to, I think the artificial intelligence is looking for how we would respond to certain situations, and for it to come up with a counter to the situation. And we're constantly being tested or constantly being stimulated to give a response. You watch television, they give you their moral perspective, good and evil, the view of the Matrix and the view of the Cabal's concept of good and evil, the high moral ground that they also use in the vernacular, all kinds of things, And so we get adjusted to this concept. We pride ourselves on this idea of we try to treat everybody equally. We try to have mutual respect. And these are good things. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm not saying anything negative in regard to that. We should be doing that. I mean, even biblically says, do unto others that we would have do unto ourselves, and you reap what you sow. So these are true concepts which, again, the Cabal has utilized in order to manipulate us in what they want us to see and believe and think is doing just what I just said. And a lot of times, when we're programmed by the cell phone, has your DNA, it could probably emit a blue beam to control the DNA. This is why when you put the phone down, you can't walk away, because it has emitted a beam into your DNA, programming you not to leave that phone, programming you to pick up that phone because you're expecting a phone call, even though you don't know anybody's calling you, even though there's no indication on the phone that the phone is going to ring. You pick up the phone because you believe that phone is that somebody is going to try to get a hold of you. You got this perspective that you're so important that people have to get in touch with you, that you are a linchpin to something that makes you so important that people are going to call you. That's a program. That's an operating program that's been induced into your brain through either some optogenetic from the phone or through a frequency from the phone connecting to your DNA. So when we're watching, okay, we heard about, I started off the show with Trump having been infected with the corona. Corona, 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 corona. The corona boogeyman got the president. Or did it? Or did it? How many of you actually responded in a very somber and sad way when you heard that? How many of you? And how many of you actually thought that perhaps this was the intent of a program, frequency, accessing your brain through optogenetics, watching something on a YouTube, Daily Motion, your television network, or NBC, CBC, CBS, and MNCB, MNBC, any of these networks that would emit a frequency to control your mind, to control your DNA, to control your response. I got a thing on my Wilmkin. Malcolm X made a comment that the media was one of the most powerful entities on the planet because it can control your mind. It can make an innocent man guilty and a guilty man innocent. We saw that with O.J. Simpson and how they manipulated the media to make you think that he was innocent. Now, whether or not he was innocent or not, that's leave up to you. But the manipulation and the machination of the machine learning and the AI interface with the networks have created the capacity to control your mind, to control your DNA, to turn on and turn off at the same time things that you will respond to, things that you may not respond to, or to make you desensitized for any kind of response whatsoever. And this can get scary, really scary. Because when you have that kind of power at your disposal, when you have the capacity to activate or deactivate a response mechanism in somebody's mind, that puts you in a level of control that nobody has a right to have. But you have certain elements that are working with augment intelligence, or different types of artificial intelligence, general intelligence, AIG, or is it AGI, artificial general intelligence. Then you've got what the heck was it? Artificial super intelligence, ASI, which again is a AI network that can again figure out how to manipulate you through certain stimuli that they can access in your brain, or your DNA, or your genetic code. This is what becomes scary, because you now have an effing machine, that can now analyze you, can decipher what's required to create a response in you, to be able to activate certain strands of DNA or certain codes in your genetic code, or to activate certain frequencies with light in your brain to make you function in the way it wants you to function, or to turn you off, or to turn you on. Remember back in the 70s and 60s, hey baby, you turned me right on. That's a program. That is a program. When we think in terms of sex, let's just talk sex, right? It's one of those topics that people like to shy away from. But when you think of sex, and you see the opposite sex, I'm one of the old school guys. I'm a firm believer that God made Adam for Eve and not Steve, and Eve for Adam and not a Adam. If that upsets you, too bad, so sad. You know, if you want, do your own show. But in this show, I'm going to reference it from this point of view. You know, because I said this many times on other shows, that I don't believe in any way, shape, or form that people who have had their genders bended had it done by the same scientific community that is exploring and exporting their perspective what is considered moral, what is considered to be an emotional acceptance, how we should be empathizing certain things, how we should be, interpreting certain things in a certain way. I mean, it's just incredible what we believe today in regarding to even sexuality. But that has all been part of the program, all of it. What was considered a normal genetic biology, men and women getting together to create new life and to bring new life into the planet through reproduction, has now been completely contorted through a programming sequence, which I believe partly, not only was it done through chemical castration or chemical modification through the genetic code, but I also believe it's been done through frequency, altering the way we think, altering our morality, altering our ethics, even altering our perspective on the interpretation of what God is saying in regard to these things. Like I said, I really hate using the word spiritual. I think the appropriate term is to become more godly, to act in a more godlike fashion, to think in terms the way God thinks, which is very difficult, really, when you sit there and think about that, because we are so banal, so vain, we have such ego, that we think in our own minds that we are the center of the universe, that we are it. We are the gods of this planet. We aren't gods. We are basically here today, gone tomorrow. And the concept of what we think is sexy, what do we think is sexy? What do we really think is sexy? That's a program. In the realistic aspect of relationships, it's not the term sexy that we should be thinking about, as strange as that may sound. It should be thinking in the terms of being compatible. What's compatible? How do you define what is compatible? What makes relationships more compatible? That's what we should be thinking in terms of. If we're going to be in a relationship because of sex, then we're no different than animals. We mate, we reproduce, and we go our separate ways, which is what has been done and how the program has been initiated. But if we think in terms, the correct terms of compatibility, okay, that puts a whole different meaning on what a relationship should be and how a relationship should act. But if you have a program subroutine running into your brain, they can now get activated by a frequency. You turn on a television, you see a woman dressed in a certain demeanor where she's got something really tight around her breast, around her backside, around her front side, along her body. You see a guy dressed to the nines. He's got a suit, a real sharp suit, fits him really, really firm. It shows his shoulder, it represents strength and success. Okay, this is what is considered sexy. Now, what's really considered compatible? See, that's the thing. So if the frequencies activate you in the realm of, wow, that's really sexy, that's a program. I mean, we do think sexually, and I'm not trying to say we don't. But when the emphasis is, or overemphasis is on sex and not compatibility, then the program that's going into your head is the wrong one. And if you're looking at somebody from a sexual perspective, again, how long will that last? How long will that program keep operating until it collapses or until you collapse? See, this is what they've done and this is what they're doing. And I use that expression or that example because that's the one thing that everybody sees. Because that's the one thing we're bombarded with. See, back in the 60s and 70s, the women were dressed up, breasts were hanging out, boobs, they're wearing really tight running, jogging pants. I mean, snug around the butt when they walked. they talked, and I'm not talking about the lips above on their heads, but below. Everything was to program and to engage all the males in that regard. Now the women saw the men from another regard. I mean, men didn't have to wear jogging pants, but they did wear a suit and tie. They did wear clothing that represented success, represented wealth, where it represented prosperity. So again, that programming again was engaged and initiated. So as the decades went on, what was considered sexy in the 80s was different than what was considered sexy in the 60s and 70s. And what was considered sexy in the 90s was again different than what was in the 80s. And what's considered sexy in the 2000s and today currently, again, is different than what happened in the 90s. And it all has progressed or digressed, depending on how you see it, in ways of perversion, because it's all been directed in a form of sexuality, not compatibility. And so when you're looking at this concept, I'm trying to get you to see how a frequency activates or deactivates or stimulates or overstimulates or doesn't stimulate at all. That determines a lot in how you think, what you believe, how you respond, how you act on whatever principles you've been programmed to follow. And this is all being done through technology, through artificial intelligence, through Wi-Fi, through optogenetics, through ELS, EMS, because light is a form of frequency, a magnetic frequency. So when we're outside and we're getting hit with frequencies, when we're getting hit with the street lights, we're emitting 5G frequencies or 6G, or we're going into a grocery store and we're getting blue beams hitting us and again affecting the way we think. When we're watching the network television, when we're watching Facebook, when we're watching YouTube, when we're watching BitChute, and we're seeing all this programming, they're trying to stimulate a programming with fear. With fear. Fear of something that doesn't exist. Fear of something that isn't real. And then creating a program or a dramatization, which is a program, to get you to believe that what they're trying to promote, perpetrate, or to expound on is what they want you to continue to accept as reality. This is why I went with Trump. Is he really, really sick? Or is this some kind of elaborate programming to, again, either win votes, or is it an elaborate programming? Perhaps he's trying to dismiss himself. Who knows? We will see as time goes on. But the point here is it's a program. Everything we've been watching is a program. Everything we've been seeing is a program. When you ever, I'm going to give you another thought here. You ever watch wrestling or a boxing match or a sporting event? Basketball, hockey, baseball, football. And the more intense the athletic activity is, the more you get into that game, the more and then the more you root for a team. And you've been programmed. You've been programmed to choose a team based on whatever the paradigm or the narrative that they're putting into your head. So, I used to, back in the 90s, we used to watch hockey. I used to root for Detroit Red Wings. I used to always say there are two kinds of hockey teams, Detroit and those who wish they were. Now, I don't know what Detroit's doing these days. I don't follow it anymore. Who has time when we're in World War III? But, again, that was the narrative and the programming that I had, and based on how I used to watch Detroit play at that time, that's one of the things that, again, drew me to that narrative. But when you look at that, it's the same thing. Why are you picking Team A, Team B, Team C, Team D? They're all hockey teams. They all can skate, they all can shoot, they all can score. And then any given night, any team can beat any other team. Doesn't matter how good the team is or how bad the team is. Sometimes the worst team in the league can beat the best team in the league, and it happens. So why would you pick that team? Why do you pick? Because of a program. It's a program. It's all it is. And through optogenetics, through light manipulation, and where would you get the light manipulation? You'd get it from the television. All those pixels are in the television. They all emit a different frequency. In the right pixel, again, if you got the blue beam in the blue beam or blue ray television, you're going to get a blue ray or a ray beam hit you from the television to again manipulate your brain, manipulate your DNA, and this is all being done. I mean, it's incredible how it's being done. It's being done in such a subtle way that you don't even think about it. And the scary thing about this is artificial intelligence can do this at any given time. If you're around any kind of tech, you can be accessed. And not saying it's going on all the time, but it can go on. And if you got a military-industrial complex that's trying to, again, increase the narrative so that you're afraid of a boogeyman, the corona boogeyman, oh yeah, it's coming for you, yeah, I'm shooting my little blue beam into your head, pick up the phone, we'll connect to the DNA, we'll program the DNA so that you are afraid. You're afraid you're going to die. Oh, got so many people dying in Canada. The streets are full of people, but even though you can't see it, the boogeyman is there. In America, America. Your numbers are going up, oh, your numbers are going up. But the hospitals are empty. But you're hearing the numbers are going up. Oh, geez, the numbers. Numbers are going up. Oh, what am I going to do? Quick, get your mask on. Get your mask on. That mask is going to save you. Oh. I'm laughing at that concept of the mask going to save you. But you get the point. The whole point of a program narrative that is again hitting you through your DNA, your genetic code in your brain, and you're not even feeling it. In fact, you may not even be conscious of it until you get into a situation where you get triggered. You get triggered. Once you're in that situation and you get triggered, all of a sudden, then you start responding. And sometimes, while you're responding, in your own mind, you're wondering why you are reacting the way you're reacting. It's as if you've lost control of your mind. You've lost control of your capacity to not say nothing. You're engaged and you don't know why you're engaged. You're there and you're, oh, yes, I'm afraid. I'm going to die. Oh, yeah, and you know bloody well that the odds of dying of the coronavirus is less than 1%, 0.0001%, depending on your age. The regular flu, the death rate on the regular flu is 0.01%. So you have a 99.9999999% chance of surviving the flu. And if you have the corona, you have a 0.0001% chance of surviving. Or it's not surviving, of dying, 0.00001% of dying. That means you have a 99.9999999 chance of defeating it. But what are you hearing? You're not hearing that. In your brain is saying, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. Oh, this is such an awful virus. I'm going to die. But the reality of it all is it's nothing. It's a nothing virus. Even if you're older, if you're taking care of yourself, it's a nothing virus. Nothing. Zero. Nada. Zip. And But you are being hit with frequencies that, again, are altering your perception on all of this. You're being you're being programmed without you even being aware of the program. And it's done in such a way that you don't even know it's happening. You know what I mean? That's the crazy thing about it all. It's being done in such a way that you don't even know it's happening, but you're responding. You're responding. And in that response, based on the program that they've activated or deactivated in your DNA or your genetic code or your brain, you are now responding by either wearing a mask, putting on the hand condoms, sticking your hand in methanol-laced sanitizers, that, again, causes all kinds of cancers, brain cancers, liver cancers, tissue cancers, cellular cancers. And anybody in their right mind would be saying no to this. No, I'm not using this. No, I'm not putting the hand condom on. I don't need to absorb latex in my body. I don't need to absorb the chemicals in my body. No, I'm not putting the mask on. We have an issue now of pneumonia increase because of these masks. Why? And the doctors are saying, this is what gets me here. The doctors are saying there's been an outbreak of pneumonia, but they don't know why. And then you wonder why we never had a solution for cancer. Because this kind of incompetence you can't fake. Cancer has over 240 cures. Over 240 cures. That's what cancer has. And yet the medical field has never applied any of those cures with people to cure them of their cancer. Never. It's never done it. They never will do it. It's not going to happen. They have been programmed, and they programmed the victims of cancer, which is basically a victim of nano poisoning or epigenetics, environmental toxins that affect the DNA and the genetic code in the immune system. Those epigenetics can be treated relatively easy, but instead of treating the person, fortifying their immune system, and flushing out the epigenetics that are causing the cancers, which is what you do if somebody has cancer. You can go watch the YouTube channel that we have, and we got a two-parter on the YouTube channel on cancer. We had given that formula forever, and it worked really well. About 8 out of 10 people that use that formula used to beat cancer. Today, it doesn't work like it used to because today the herbs are weaker. They've been manipulated, modified, and they're also exposed to the nanoparticulates from the sky. So they don't work like they used to. There are other options, but that was one formula that I had used for almost 3 decades that had a very profound effect on people that had a cancer issue. When I went down to Arizona, I was there and I was at a health food store, and I asked them to order the products because at the time, Phoenix, holy crap, people were having cancers left, right, and center. I had one guy had a cancer on his cheek, and we gave him the formula, cleared it up, but it came back, and he went to the Mayo Clinic, and I gave him another formula where we dabbed DMSO with clove on the cancer, took it out within a day. Because we wiped out the epigenetic factor that was causing the cancer. When he went back to the Mayo Clinic, they freaked. See, we've been programmed with optogenetics and epigenetics and VK2, or V2K, sorry, V2K, about the boogeyman, cancer. Oh, you got cancer. You're going to die. You're going to die. Cancer's going to kill you. Oh. See, if we're really looking at this correctly. Yes, we are all going to die. Doesn't mean I'm going to die today. Doesn't mean I'm going to die tomorrow. But one day I will stand before God. God will punch out my card and I'll be done. Finished. Gone home. Done my time. I'm free at last. I'll be singing that song all the way. I'm free at last. Yes, free at last. Free at last. But we've been programmed that if you've got cancer, you're going to die. And there is absolutely no basis for that. Cancer is no different than getting a common cold or getting some kind of affliction in the body. It's an imbalance. That's all it is. Doesn't matter if you're eating an alkaline diet or an acid diet. Anybody that's still believing that bullshit, I got some Canadian cheese to sell you on Uranus. Okay. Cancer is nothing but an epigenetic infection, an epigenetic overload. And today, with the level of epigenetics from chemtrails, epigenetics from glyphosates, epigenetics from atrazine, epigenetics from genetically modified foods, epigenetics from vaccines. Vaccine is an epigenetic. It's an environmental toxin that they're bypassing the skin to again inject inside of you materials that are not meant to be there. Okay, they are in again, they are not supposed to be there. But because they have been put there by the people that control the environment. You notice, those of us who live in Canada can remember when Reagan and Mulroney were in power. And the biggest issue of the day was acid rain. Remember that? Acid rain. Oh, man, we're going to be doing acid. Ooh. And they were blaming it on the coal stacks. They were blaming it on the exhaust emissions, and that Canada and the United States were arguing back and forth. And they were making such a big deal about it. And then finally they hammered out an agreement. No more emissions. Putting more scrubbers up. We are going to beat acid rain. That was the program. That was the distraction. Okay. And as a result, this kind of programming continued. Remember when David Keith, back 15 years ago, 12, 15 years ago, was talking about putting sulfuric acid into the air in order to block out the sun? Complete idiot. Has no idea what he was doing, and the model that they were using at the time was an incomplete model. But this was what they were trying to sell the general population. They will put sulfuric acid into the air to block out the sun. The goofball. He used a scale that didn't give him the complete picture. We have gotten so many chemtrails and chemical reactions up in the atmosphere today. They have stated they don't know what's up there anymore, and a lot of chemical reactions that have occurred up in the atmosphere have produced elements that are not even on the periodic table, and they still don't know what they are. So when you're going to throw an acid up there, which is an actual catalyst, we have absolutely no idea what that would do to the atmosphere. How much it may even damage the atmosphere further than what it has already accomplished. So when we're looking at the program and the concepts and the things they want you to believe, the ideals that they want you to have, and some of you are even in your own mind are saying, I don't believe this bullshit at all. Not one bit. Why am I accepting this? Why am I saying I'm going to accept this? You know what I mean? As if something possessed you. As if something took you over. As if something now is controlling you. Well, in essence, that's what it is. It's a form of possession, whether demonic or through an artificial intelligence or through a military industrial complex, using technologies to possess you in order to make you comply. See, and I'm presenting this tonight in this way because it's important, it's so important that you begin to rationalize that if you're not believing something wholeheartedly and you're not accepting something, but you're going along with it, that means a program is being induced into you some way, somewhere, somehow, through your cell phone, through a lamp, through a fluorescent light, through a television advertisement, through a television program, through Blu-ray, through Daily Motion, through YouTube or BitChute, or wherever it's coming in from, on a computer, iPad, anything that can emit a blue beam that can get to your DNA, your genetic code, to your brain, to your cells, to your tissues, through the operating system that in your body, the DNA, genetic code, chromosomes, that causes your body to function in a certain form or fashion. And you are now you're feeling sick. You're not feeling motivated. It seems like your strength has been sapped from you. You don't seem to have that get up and go to get things done like you did when you were younger. You feel incapacitated, even though you've slept 8 hours, and you wake up feeling incapacitated. What does that tell you? What's going on? Okay. You've read the literature. You see the literature. You're scared to look at anything different than what the narrative is being said on television. You're scared to look at anything different than what the political arena is telling you to believe. Now, the rational person would say, the premier of a province doesn't know jack shit about medicine. The council that's supporting the premier of the province doesn't know shit about medicine. So how can they create mandates for something they don't know anything about? Well, somebody said, well, they may have advisors that work in the medical staff. If so, why hasn't the medical staff actually come out and shown everybody the biometric of the genetics of this pandemic? PCR tests don't work. We all know this. Most of us know this. They haven't been, again, seduced with the programming to accept the PCR as an official test. I'm presenting this to show you how all of us can be induced to believe whatever they want you to believe. They can make you think whatever they want you to think. It may take a little time. It may take a little bit of adjustment on the program or on the frequency, but they can get you to go. How many of you sometimes have woke up and had thoughts in your head, how much easier this would have been if I just never woke up? We've all had those thoughts. Don't feel bad if you had. Those thoughts did not come from you, did not originate from you. See, deep down inside, those of us who have a faith or have a belief want to do the right thing. Irrespective of what it may cost, we want to do the right thing. We want to do what we can do to make things right, to wake people up, to empower and endow people with the capacity to be able to make their own decisions and take their own stand, and to be able to again resist the possession that they're doing to everybody. That's the normal response. But sometimes you wake up and you're a little afraid, and sometimes you have thoughts creep in that try to scare you in whatever form or fashion. We all have that, everybody. Just, if you weren't a man or a woman, you again, if you couldn't do that or didn't do that, you wouldn't be considered a man or a woman. We all have fears, we all have doubts, we all have anxieties. But we all have faith as well to give us the courage to, again, overtake or win over these thoughts. And again, it may not be your thoughts. It may be a program. And that's what I'm trying to get across tonight, this program. The program has been there and it's been ongoing. And again, they're becoming more and more sophisticated with it. So if you're in a crowd, they can fire these beams and frequencies at you. If you're in your home, they're using 6G technology, they can hit you in the house. If you're by a window, they can hit you with 5G. They can hit you with the cell phone. They can hit you with your iPad. You open up a computer and you start doing some research, and the thing's emitting some kind of frequency. Maybe you're listening to some music. I always tell people I don't listen to music anymore, nor do I watch television. I do watch the sci-fi stuff because, again, I'm looking at, every time I look at Star Trek of any kind, Voyager or Deep Space Nine or Enterprise or the original Star Trek, I can't believe what I'm seeing there that I never saw the first time around, because I was programmed by the Star Trek. Oh, we're going to go up in space. Oh, we're going to be out there where no man has gone before. Wow, this is going to be so cool. We're going to meet, okay, I'm being a male again. I'm a male, all male. And the testosterone's there, the concept that, Captain Kirk, everywhere he went, he was boinking alien women. Wow, that sounds like it'd be a good thing. Again, that's the male perspective, right? That's the base thinking. Ooh. But then when you watch them after you wake up, you begin to realize the program. You begin to realize how they were seducing us to go out in space. I personally think that space is the abyss, or an abyss-like environment. And if we were to go out there, we would be snuffed out. We would be hijacked or kidnapped by demons or worse. So that's just my thoughts on that, based on how I research and how I'm seeing. See, because anytime television makes something up to be so good, so fantastic, so, orgasmically organic, which is a term I haven't used in a while, orgasmically organic, then we really need to evaluate really what's out there. Why are they pushing us to go out into space? Is space going to be a place where they can harvest men and women for consumption? Maybe there's a predator out in space that wants to destroy us. Don't know. Since we've never been, we can't really say. But again, let's look at that moon landing that the United States supposedly done. They took a tin can. It barely had any shielding. It was able to go through the Van Allen belt without anybody being damaged, without anybody suffering any kind of consequences from the radiation. Yet when the Russians flew their rockets, heavily lead shielded, and when they cracked open the compartment in the nose of the rocket as it came into the atmosphere, because it just basically circled the Earth, the animal that they had inside died of radiation poisoning. It was completely, almost unrecognizable by the time it landed. So we're looking at this tin can that's going to go through layers and layers of radiation to get to the moon. Never happened. But this was what they made us believe. When you watch the television and you see certain things going on, again, be careful, because they're trying to manipulate a thought process. They're trying to manipulate something to create an emotional response. Because once you're in a state of irrationality and you're not thinking, whether you're sad, happy, fearful, confident, courageous, cowardly, whatever it may be, if they got you in the realm of the emotions, where again, when you're on that emotional, irrational perspective, that's when they can fire a program in and amplify that emotion, because emotions are ramped up high anyway. It's like when a husband and wife get into an argument, if they step back a foot and get out of the range of the frequency, it almost subsides immediately. But the emotional response in the head, we can continue on for days or a day or weeks, depending on how the intense the activity was, and how intense the program was induced into the people to respond the way they did. Most of the times, when you sit there and think about arguing and the things that are said, how much of the things that are being said are actually a program emitting from your mouth? Think about that one. Think about that one. All right, on the show, there's going to be a lot of other things. Exposure of nanomaterials in plants. You'll get to see what they can do to the DNA of the plants, how they strip down the DNA. You got the optogenetics. There's some links there. Canadian labor. I got to make mention of this. The Canadian labor got screwed. When they were negotiating a contract with Chrysler, the unions did not tell them of the compromises that they had made with the company. And the reason why they didn't tell them, part of the reason why, is because the unions have stock in Chrysler. The unions cannot represent the workforce in Chrysler because that would be a conflict of interest. So when they did give them the contract negotiations that they were negotiating, they forgot to mention some of the details. This is why a lot of young people got started off at $20 an hour instead of working for the $25 an hour or $30 an hour wage that they were entitled to get. It was all to undermine the whole process of the unions and the workforce, and to show that they don't really have any power or real representation. So something I wanted you all to look at, and how to undermine the system. There's this Russian that does a lecture, and he shows you how, and it's exactly what he's saying is what's being done right now, with fear and causing all kinds of disruptive influences, like the Antifa and the Black Lives Matter, to keep everybody in balance, to keep everybody fragmented, and to steer everybody away from God. He even mentions this. He calls it the Supreme Being. Because, as I stated before, if God is not the center of the equation, you have no equation. You got nothing. When you have school teachers teaching your children programming, and for an hour they're getting badgered with this COVID crap in school, you should be pulling your kids out. Because if those teachers do not have God at the center of the equation, they cannot act in a godlike manner to present the truth as it should be presented. They're too afraid they're going to lose their jobs. Their job! Oh my God! This is how they have tethered and enslaved them. They have made them willing slaves. Just like I talked about the other night about the Noahide. That Noahide is designed to enslave the Gentiles, or enslave those people who are not of the Zionistic principles. And if you're a believer and you still are believing in the Christian Judaic concept, you have been bullshitted clear out of your socks. That whole thing, and then someone wrote me, "Oh, you hate Israel, you hate Jesus." That's not even remotely true. But see, that's the program. That's the program a lot of people are following, and they're not reading their Bibles like they should, because that's the operating system that you should be using. That's the manual of what it means to be a Christian. Okay, so instead of reading that, you're listening to all this rhetoric, you're watching all this media, and you're getting a program. Well, it's the same thing. This guy was showing how you can cause a disruptive influence to splinter a group, splinter a people, splinter a country or a state. The Noahide is going to do exactly that. There's going to be a lot of heads rolling because if you don't follow, because see, the letter of the law killeth. And that's what they want the Gentiles under, the letter of the law. Pay attention, pay attention, pay attention. He who has eyes to see, let him see. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. And the rest of you can take your red, blue, purple, pink, orange, orangutan colored pill and do whatever the hell you want. And on that note, I'm always mentioning on my site, People that are trying to wake you up, trying to inform you, try to help you become more enlightened, try to help you becoming more independent and more autonomous so that you're not being misled. You got Brian 396. Again, he's done the research. He's got links all over there. Check him out. You got Aramak on the YouTube channel. Yanni in Switzerland. And you got Shai in Israel. You got Three Arch Church there down in, I think, Texas is where Sherry is. So check her out. You got Ty in the West Coast. And then you got me as well. So again, help them out any way you can financially. If you can't help out financially, then don't worry about it. Help out by sharing the information. I forgot to put the Wim. Hold on a second. Oop, wrong one. We've also I've got the Wimkin network up. Oh, I forgot to put it on. I'll put it on now. But go check out the Wimkin. I'm always posting there. I post the shows there as well. I think Yanni posted on his YouTube channel. So again, you got options where you can go get it. You can go on the Podbean if you want. But on the Wimkin, I'm also publishing and posting information that might be of some value. Check it out. Again, the stuff I talk about is not candy coated. So if you can't handle straight truth, find yourself another Wimkin. Wimkin. So anyway, but it's there. And I always mention at the end of the show, when you get a chance, read the Gospels. Don't let anybody tell you anything. You just heard me what I said about programming and optogenetics. Don't let anybody, I don't give a shit if they're a TV evangelical, they're to be the worst, any minister or preacher, preach to you anything but what's in that book accordingly. And not just the religious aspect of that book, everything. So that you get the full measure how to evaluate what it means to be a believer, what it means to be a Christian. Not some Christian Judaic horse hockey where you're compromised, believing in two things, old wine and new wine and old wineskins, which they don't match on any level. And you'll get that as you read. So anyway, you got that. Read the Gospels. Don't let anybody tell you what they mean. Read it. Keep reading them, even if you're having a hard time. As I stated before, you're uploading the God programming, and you're removing the tree program or the devil's program. So again, keep that in mind. All right, we're still here by the grace of God, and we'll continue to be here by His grace. So till the next segment, to your health. See ya.